December 1860, Oxfordshire, England. Everyone was gathered outside to witness the magnificent fireworks being put on display at the Stanton Hall Christmas Ball. Everyone, that is, except for himself. Only a minute ago, Benjamin Stanton had sneaked back into the great house that belonged to his grandfather, the Earl of Stanton. Now he flew up the servants' staircase, not wanting to call attention to his movements, and made his way rapidly down the long corridor which led to the library. He had plans for tonight. While everyone was distracted by the lavish entertainment outside, he was to have an assignation with Daphne Phipps. He had met her on his arrival in England 2 weeks ago. She had sat to his right at church, and they had exchanged discreet glances throughout the service. He had subsequently made it his business to find out who she was and to pursue her acquaintance. Great had been his delight to discover that Daphne, daughter of the village draper, was far from being an angel. A pretty little thing, with a pert nose and comely curves, she had welcomed his advances with sly smiles and coy flutters of her eyelashes. In the ensuing weeks, Benjamin had made several visits to the drapers under false pretexts, and flirted with Daphne, culminating in a quick fumble with her behind a wooden screen one day when they found themselves alone in the shop. It was then that he had proposed she meet him in the library on the night of the Stanton Ball, when everyone else would be engaged in watching the fireworks outside. He slowed his footsteps as he approached the library door. Very quietly, he pushed it open. It was dim inside, the only light coming from a small oil lamp on a side table. He looked around for Daphne, and smiled as he spied a figure seated in the far corner by the window. He shut the door behind him, and without a sound, tiptoed into the room. The closer he got to the seated figure, however, the more obvious it became that this was not Daphne. This person was tall, perhaps a foot taller than the draper's daughter, and her hair was dark, arranged in an artful bun on her head, not in blonde ringlets. He saw that she had her face in her hands, and that her shoulders heaved. What could be the matter? And who was this mysterious lady? He cleared his throat, not knowing what to say. At the sound, she froze, then dropped her hands to her lap, revealing a tear-stained face and luminous grey eyes. All at once, he recognized her. It was Miss Cranshaw. He had met her once when she had accompanied her brother, the Earl of Stanton's land manager, on a visit to Stanton Hall. "Are you quite all right?" he asked, then rebuked himself for the stupidity of that question. Of course she was not all right. I shall be," she stammered, dabbing at her eyes. "Here, take this," he said, handing her his handkerchief. She took it and wiped her tears. "Thank you," she murmured. She made as if to return it to him, but he demurred. No, do keep it," he said. He went to sit on the chair facing her, leaning forwards on his elbows. "Will you tell me what is troubling you?" he asked gently. She used the handkerchief once more to wipe at her eyes, then put it down in her lap with a self-derisive huff. "Mere foolishness on my part, I'm afraid." He waited for her to continue. When she did not speak, he inquired with stubborn persistence, "What sort of foolishness?" She sighed and looked away. It did not look like she would answer him, so he was surprised when she said, "The foolishness of hankering for someone who does not merit or return such sentiments." "Ah, I begin to see." He eyed her with sympathy. "I have not myself ever been in love, but I am sure it must be painful to have unrequited feelings for another." At the tender age of 22, Benjamin had not yet met any female that set his heart aflutter and whom he could imagine falling in love with in that way that his father and mother loved each other. He supposed, if ever he took the time to wonder about such things, that some day he would meet this person. There was plenty of time still for that, and he was in no hurry.